You might think Jerry Garcia was born with incredible guitar skills, but he was just like everyone else and got there the hard way, through lots and lots of practice. I spent the last 15 days transcribing 30 of his solos in the same order they were recorded to hear his evolution in real time. I took pages of notes, I listened at a quarter speed. Some tracks I even listened to more than 50 times. But by the time I was finished, my view was playing a change. And you can tell, here's me 5 years ago after making one of my first videos on Jerry. Versus me now after doing this deep dive. Now let's take a look at the top 10 discoveries I made while learning these solos. Discovery number 1. So a lot of people just grab a scale and kind of go with it. But Jerry would often play more like this. So that was a very kind of simplified approach to how Jerry would often play on Scarlet Begonias. I mean, he would have a scale, right, that he'd be using, but it would go beyond just that. He had something in there that was kind of gluing it all together and connecting to the chords. And if we just strip it away, we can hear these notes, it would sound something like this. So Jerry often would try to focus on connecting to the song by playing notes of the chords and not necessarily outlining the chords all the time, but just taking one note and having that be the guide. So this is often referred to as guide tones. So for that A, there's that note right there, that's the major third of A, and then E, just the root, and then the major third of B. And then again, resolving down to a different note for E, right? So you've got, and that makes it sound like the tune just by playing those notes. And you just play around the scale, around that, and it sounds like you're glued to the chords. And I was just simply, in that example, playing around anything with the scale, but kind of focusing on those notes. So discovery number 1 is he used guide tones from the melody all the time. Discovery number 2. But what if you don't know the melody to a song? Well, Jerry would often play something like this. So, touch of gray, the chords to this one are B, F sharp, B, E, A, E, right? And if we play it up here, you got like this, B, F sharp, B, E, A, E, right? And then it goes on F sharp, B to E, right? So if we're just looking at this first part here, what is he doing? He's got B and taking this shape right here, which is the C shape. If you know your kind of cage system up here, boom, B way up high in the C shape. Just playing these 3 notes right here, right? And he's just picking around with that, going, just starting high, right? And then F sharp, like this shape right here, just playing these 3 to there, and then, but not playing the whole thing, just going, and then right to B. So just quickly touching upon it, but you can still hear that outlining of the chord. And then to E, the same shape like this, just 2 frets lower. And then quickly up to A, this note right here of A, and then back to that note here, part of that E again, and then moving it up 2 more frets, and then kind of moving a little bit away. And then these notes right here, outlining the E shape right here. And these are what we call triads. So tri meaning 3, just a 3-note chord. They're the basic building blocks of chords, and it's a great and easy way to be thinking about chords in a small level and how they connect smoothly to one another and how you can use it to just outline like he does right there. So discovery number 2 is how he outlined chords with triads. Discovery number 3. Now the thing is, focusing on notes will only get you so far. What do you think these 3 phrases from 3 different solos have in common? So he was bending a lot in all of these phrases, and bending in kind of unique ways that, you know, people don't typically bend with the 2nd finger, 1st finger, all that stuff, pinky. Most people, they bend a lot, just use their 3rd finger, the ring finger. But Jerry would just be using them all, right? So that first one, that Ramble on a Rose, like right here, bending to an E, rather than just playing the E, he's bending up from a half step, a fret below, bending up to it, right? So giving that unique sound. And then, you know, one of them was Jack Straw, like this. Same thing right here, but bending on this string. And then the same thing over there. And it just kind of gives it this unique sound. And it takes some time to get used to bending with these fingers. It takes a lot of strength. And he also bends on low strings. Like, you know, I myself would avoid bending on like the low E and A, but after going through all of these, even the D string really, but after going through all these solos, I was noticing he was bending a lot, like, oops, you know, right on here. And I used to, if I was going to bend here, I would bend this way down, being kind of afraid I'm going to fall off like that. But really on the D string, you're not going to really fall off there. So bending up is a lot stronger, and going through and seeing some of these spots where he was doing these big full step bends there made me realize it's way easier to bend up. So I learned a lot there, and now I've got that kind of in my arsenal if I want to use that approach to you know, my own solos and things like that. So discovery number 3 is unique bends. Discovery number 4. This next one is something he did all the time to break out of the box and sound less predictable. So something he did all the time to kind of get out of just playing around, you know, with a scale, is he'd throw notes in between there, like, that aren't in the scale, you know, doing a thing called chromatics, just basically, you know, chromatic scale is like just playing every single note, but just throwing in little notes outside of the scale here and there. You can also refer to them as chromatics. And there's 3 different kind of main ways that he would do it. You could just kind of simplify it and categorize it. There is this one right here, where he starts this solo from Althea off right away. And as his playing, you know, evolved, he would do this more and more often. It was so common to hear just a pull off right in a row. And usually, you know, 1 or 2 of those notes are going to be outside of the scale, but it doesn't matter. You're just going real quick. It's not hanging on it real fast. And I call it the 4 pull. It's like 4 pull offs right in a row. And another one is the 3 climb. Like just sometimes just 3 notes right now, climbing up, you know. Sometimes in like that, picking them, or hammer on to just go up there. And another one is neighbor notes, which is just playing 1 note below, like that. And sometimes he'd bend up to it as well. So either play them, hammer on, or bend up there. But discovery number 4 are that there are chromatics everywhere. Discovery number 5. There's something Jerry did that was the foundation for so much of his solos. So we've talked a lot about notes so far, like the actual pitches, but rhythm is just as important. And there's a rhythm that he would just do all the time, and that is 16th notes. So if you're going along the beat like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be divided up by 4, going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and that's what was going on there. Eyes of the World. He would often just be kind of blazing, just 16th notes. You know, not necessarily nonstop, but sometimes you kind of get it going, and it's focusing on it a lot. You know, stopping, pausing, slower stuff mixed in there. But you want to be able to play 16th notes and get used to it, even if it's just like grabbing, you know, one note and just play it like that. Get your alternate picking going and just be able to play like the root note of a song, just 16th notes, and work that into your playing, because that is a huge part of his playing. Kind of comes from his early kind of banjo bluegrass days. So discovery number 5 is 16th notes. If you're curious to explore Jerry's soloing style even further, the Jerry Garcia 5-Day Challenge is your next step. In the challenge, I'll help you uncover more of his approach while giving you the tools to actually implement them and make them your own. So just click the link down below in the description to get started. So we've already established that he loved to outline the chords, but there's an even easier way he did this than what we've looked at so far. So using Dire Wolf as an example, this one little snippet is going over G, B flat, and F, right? So here is 6th, number 1 here. Then he goes up to here. Then he does here. Quickly here, and finishes there. So, and there's all this stuff in between, but that's guiding the chord changes. So if we look at this E shape, G chord, right? And you play these two, 1st string and 3rd string, right? Those are 2 notes in the chord there. There's the 3rd and the root, right? And then he goes up to here. And that's like playing this G this way in the C shape, playing the top 2. I'm sorry, not top 2, but 1st and 3rd strings. So you got that. Gives a little movement, makes it melodic. And then goes to here on B flat. Same shape as before. And then F, that's C shape, and rest there. But then it does this just above it to give it a little more movement again. So you've got, and you can really hear, you know, the chords outlined there, and it's an even easier way than triads. If you compare it to triads, we'd have the top 3 strings right here, and he's just not playing the middle one, and that makes it a 6th. So the distance between these 2 notes is what they call a 6th. And it's a very wide sounding shape, so you could have done that, but you can more easily play them as single notes. This would be this triad, not playing the middle one, and then back to this same shape there, and then this shape here real quick, and then this one is part of that triad right there. Discovery number 7. This is one of the most elusive and hard to replicate aspects of Jerry's playing, but when you get it down, it really draws the listener in. This one is all about the right hand picking technique. And it's not like he was just playing the same volume all the time. He would be varying it up, sometime from phrase to phrase, or like this one within a phrase, where he's playing, you know, not super loud, but he's digging in, and then at the very end, just playing ever so quiet. So it's like a loud playing to a whisper, and he would often do that. It just draws you in. So discovery number 7 is picking dynamics. Now, going through this challenge of learning 30 solos in 15 days actually made me discover something about myself, a belief that I had that ended up getting changed at the end. And that is that I used to think that I only liked Jerry's playing from the 70s. Although I did really like his acoustic playing all throughout the years, but the electric, I just only liked in the 70s. Kind of a long list of reasons, but going through and listening to a little more closely, a little more depth to some of the stuff in the 80s and 90s, I discovered that there's some stuff in there that I really like, especially with the Jerry Garcia band, even more so than the Dead. So just remember that there may be things that you like or don't like music, no matter what it is, you know, Jerry, Dead, or not, other stuff, you know, or certain instruments, just give it a chance, and you can sometimes discover that there's things that you really appreciate it, and you might end up loving new stuff. Discovery number 8. But with so many tactics, it can be overwhelming and hard to make sense of it all. So this little section of They Love Each Other is just a great example of how he kind of puts it all together. It's not about just, one of these tactics at a time, because that's often what happens when we learn something new. You kind of, you go to town with it. You just focus on it so much, and that's normal. But at some point, you got to dial it back, and you also have to dial it back with all of them and weave them together. So it's not really about any of the tactics, but how he kind of weaves them tastefully and seamlessly in and out. So like right here, we've got right away a neighbor note, and there's a lot of pentatonic stuff, and pull off. So some technique slides, pull offs. There's that half step bend, pulling off, another pull off, and then neighbor note leading up to 6th. So it's outlining that C when it changes. It's hanging over G from there, and it goes up to C. So there's just a bunch of things that we've already been talking about there, all weaved into this one, long phrase. So discovery number 8 is that you gotta be tasteful with tactics. Discovery number 9. What do each of the last note of these 3 solos have in common? So I went to school for jazz, and I always remember that the director of jazz would always be saying to never play the root. Just avoid it. He thought it was boring in jazz. Oh, that's boring. Never play the root. Play these fancy notes and things like that. And you know what? That is horrible advice, because of course you got to play the root, because what did these have in common? But this one was in C. He ended on a C. The next one was in B flat. He ended in B flat. The next one was in C again, and he ended it down here, and this C. Those were just 3 examples of how he ended his solos on the root of the key. But I'll tell you, I would say about 25 out of the 30 solos that I transcribed, he ended on the root. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to make things sound like they're complete, whether you're doing it in the middle of a solo, at the end of a phrase, or to end the actual solo. It's a great way to make it sound like you came all the way back home after this journey and you're done. So discovery number 9 is he would end his solos on the root a lot. Discovery number 10. Now for the most important discovery, it's best to hear a comparison, and let's come full circle with Ramble on Rose. Here's the solo from Europe 72 played as bland as possible versus Jerry's way. Jerry was really into shaping what he played. He wasn't just, into kind of what notes and things like that and the theory behind this and that. So, that first time through, I'm just playing the notes with nothing, nothing special about it, right? No bends that, right? Versus adding in, playing the notes short, certain rhythms, and then, adding those bends, pull-offs, things like that. So discovery number 10 is it's not what, but how you play something. How was he able to create his unique sound? Practice and time. If you want to play it all like Jerry, focus on creating your own unique sound, because that's exactly what he did. Just going through the process of transcribing 30 of his solos, it's improved my playing so much. And keep a lookout for lots more videos where I'll cover more of his tactics that I didn't go over in this video. But if you can't wait that long, check out this playlist here where I have over 100 videos on Jerry and Bob too. We can't forget about him.